Holmdel Chamber of Commerce, ChamberCast. We're live at Bellworks in Holmdel, the reimagined, gorgeous, architecturally superior building, Ralph Zucker's vision. And we're very happy to be here today for the Holmdel Chamber of Commerce meeting. Wanted to thank everyone for being here. The Holmdel Chamber is an all-volunteer group. We meet monthly. So always stay tuned and follow us on Facebook at Holmdel Chamber. And by the way, feel free to take pictures and share them on Instagram and Facebook and any other social media to let folks know that you stopped by here today and all of the excellent things that are happening down on the block at the Metro Bourbon Holmdel. My name is Terrence Wall. I'm one of the founders of the Chamber, and I want to thank all the folks who participated in the Chamber on a monthly basis. And we've got a fantastic meeting today. This is a meeting that I was mentioning a little earlier is probably going to run itself because we're going to be talking about one of the hottest topics going on right now. It's something that some folks have a little bit of knowledge, some folks have a lot, and some are just mystified at what's happening in the market today. And that's all about real estate. So, and also as a direct tie into real estate and everything that surrounds the look and feel and what you're doing, whether it's residential or commercial, is how it's designed. And so we have two fantastic guests who are here with us today. I want to thank Doreen DeMarco, who's a broker salesperson for Berkshire, Hathaway, HomeServices, Fox and Roach, as well as Alma Russo with AR Interiors. And I think you're celebrating your 10th anniversary this year?
Yes.
Yep.
Actually 11.
See, going on 11 years. And Doreen has been part of the circle of excellence for years in the local real estate community, whether it's Holmdel or the area or beyond with your clients as well. So I want to thank both of you for being here today. And what we're going to do, we're going to go around the room so you can also get a sense of the folks that are here today so they can share their story and where they're from. And you'll find as we're bringing the microphone around, I often talk about the ripples in the pond. The Chamber's about networking, getting people together, and just sharing different ideas. And the idea is that when you leave today, you say, you know what, I learned something. That was great. I'm going to come back. Because the Chamber's not just about business, it's about nonprofit, it's about government, and also health and wellness. And you'll see, if you look back on Facebook and on the different videos, a number of different fantastic meetings where folks are learning a great deal. And if the gentleman, he's not here yet, but you may see a very interesting fellow come here today that tied to our Heart Health Month podcast last month. So Jeannie, if you would, let's hear from the folks that are here today. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Anna Apollonia. I'm broker manager over at Heritage House Sotheby's International Realty. Great to be here today.
Hi, I'm Nicole Rabat-Levine. I work with Anna for Heritage House Sotheby's International Realty. I am a broker realtor here in our Holmdel office. My husband and I also run the Social Conscience Project, which is a 501c3 charity based out of Monmouth County. And I'm very eager to hear Doreen's take on the market today.
So yeah, we all are.
Hi, my name is Paul Thurston, and I'm the owner of T Marketing LLC, and I'm here to just inquire about thank you, the market.
Hi, good morning. My name is Erica Fuqua. I'm with Keller Williams, also a real estate agent here at the central office in Holmdel, also a Holmdel resident, and here to listen to Doreen this morning.
That's great.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim LaMountain. I've been a Holmdel resident for 19, 20 years, have raised 4 children in this town, and have always been entrenched in the township itself, youth sports, planning board, religious education, and looking forward to running this year for township committee, and excited to be back to the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Kim.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Karen Greca, and I'm an interior designer and part of the group of MPC, who's head designer of Bellworks. So I'm excited to be here. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Foster. I'm with BFF Lending Services. We are a mortgage company here in Holmdel. Like Kim, also lived in town for half the time, about 10 years with 4 kids in the school system currently. Also been involved. I drove the ambulance for about 7 years, planning board for 5, stint on the Board of Ed for 3, and I'll be running with Kim this year for the town council as well. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Brian. And just a brief note, the Chamber of Commerce interacts with multiple jurisdictions, whether it's state legislators, Congress, local municipal officials, or Board of Ed members. I was very proud to serve with Brian Foster on the Board of Education, and appreciate your time and dedication to the Board of Ed. A key decision was made of hiring Dr. Scott Cascone as the new superintendent, so we're looking forward to him. There, see? Yeah. Fantastic man, lives over in Lincroft with his family, and we're looking forward to the fantastic work that he'll do on behalf of the 3,000 students in Holmdel, and looking forward to that. And Brian was a key vote for that gentleman, and that's wonderful. So thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Good morning. My name is Russell Gartz. I represent Collier Youth Services, which is just about 3.5 miles that way over in Marlborough, New Jersey. There's some flyers on the table about a couple events we have. We have a summer camp for 47 years on our campus, 260 acres. We only camp in Monmouth County for kids who live in Monmouth County who have no money to go to summer camp. 7 weeks, full day, transportation, 2 meals and a snack, 300 acres, swimming, literacy, more than any other camp can offer for kids that don't have any money. So we have 2 events coming up, one's for adults, one's for kids. Kids Helping Kids event and a happy hour for the adults. We also have many opportunities for your organization to come and volunteer. If you'd like to sponsor our year-end carnival, there's an opportunity for that. So check us out and help the kids in Monmouth County. Thank you.
And what's the website where people can reach you?
CollierYouthServices.org.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dorian Regal. I'm the transition coordinator for the Holmdel School District, and I want to thank everybody here, the Chamber of Commerce and Jeannie, who has helped me make so many great connections. I help kids in the district who have disabilities get to employment, and a lot of that is connecting to employers and businesses. Several of our students have already reached employment through hands-on experiences and internships that a lot of wonderful people like you guys have offered. One thing I'm going to ask anybody to think about, even if you can't offer an internship, is to offer a time where you can possibly interact with our students and practice interview skills, because a lot of our kids have gotten employed just by having great interviews and connecting and working on those relationships with employers. So if anybody has time to do that, it would be a wonderful way to give back and help our students reach employment. So I thank you from the Holmdel School District. Thank you for helping all students.
Well, Doreen, I certainly don't speak on behalf of the board, but for myself, I'll tell you, you're one of our local heroes. You're a community hero, Doreen, for all the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Fujit. I'm Director of Recreation over at Care One at Holmdel. It's my job to keep everybody happy at the center. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, but I think we're finally done and having fun. So we also use a lot of things with the community. So people coming in to visit with our residents, talk with our residents, and things like that. We're starting to allow that once again. And, we'd like to get involved with the community as well. So if you ever have events that you're doing, let us know and we'll be part of it.
Hi, how's it going, everybody? My name is Mike Winicki. I'm a little new to the community. This is my second meeting. Kind of on the topic of real estate. First of all, I represent Octopus Music School. I'm the executive director over there, and we are opening our 4th school this Saturday, and it's the first building we actually own. So we're very excited about that. We're at about 10 minutes away, right down 35. So if you guys have a free moment, feel free to stop by from noon to 2 p.m. on this Saturday, and looking forward to hearing today's presentation.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Lee. I'm the owner of Beautiful Me anti-aging skincare products. We provide personalized service where we visit in your home or office. If you feel we can be of any help, please come say hello, and I'd love to tell you the benefits that my products provide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Adrian Marcigliano from Exit Realty East Coast. Very interested to hear about the market at any moment. So ask Adrian, and I'll help you with any real estate needs.
And I'd like to also thank Adrian. Adrian's been with the Chamber since when we first started, and want to thank you for that. You're awesome. Thank you, Adrian.
Hi, my name is Kira Santana. I'm a senior at Holmdel High School. I'm the president and founder of the National Business Honor Society and the president of the Future Business Leaders of America. This is my 3rd chamber meeting, and I'm really happy to be here, so thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Max. I'm a junior at Holmdel High School, and I've had a growing interest in real estate, but I'm also looking for connections on a finance internship.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Elliot Cohen, a business education teacher at Holmdel High School, as well as the work-based learning internship coordinator. I just want to thank the Chamber for the last couple of months that we've been here. We've made some significant connections, and we're able to place a lot of our juniors for next year's internship here at Bell Works and around Monmouth County. So thank you, Terrence and Jeannie, for your support. And I think we're going to add as part of our curriculum requiring students to attend these meetings to learn about the topics each month and just really connecting with the community and letting the community see the high-level, high-performing students that we have here at Holmdel High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chong-In Liu. I'm the owner of Liu Music in Middletown, just probably 1 minute from him, his place. But we focus on very different areas, so we are good. We co-op. Very, very nice connection here. I'm also the president of Shore Music Educators Association. This will be my 3rd year as the president. And I used to serve at the Board of Education along with this gentleman.
Charlie.
Mr. Wall and Mr. Foster. So I had about almost 10 years. So there's a long time a volunteer for our Holmdel. And I'm so proud of myself to serve that long and miss that position as well. But I have different planning. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service on the board. Chung-In used to go to a number of different seminars and expos and bring that knowledge back to the Board of Education, who often sorely needed it. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Irene. I'm the owner of Irene Kesselman Photography here in Holmdel, a portrait studio focusing on all sorts of portraits, business and personal. And I've been a resident in Holmdel for 4 years and have 3 kids, 2 of them in the Holmdel School District, and looking forward to connect with the community more.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Emily Lepick, and I'm an interior designer with AR Interiors, originally out of Holmdel, now in Seagirt, and I very much look forward to today's seminar.
And I'm Jeannie Wall. I'm the owner of Hometown News, LLC, and also tap into Holmdel and Cold Snack, tap into Middletown, and tap into Hazlitt and Keyport. I offer a wonderful platform for advertising and much more than that, public relations, community relations. So you can reach me at 732-492-2500. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to a shared podcast universe, shared universe podcast. We got it, Ming. Ming's team is fantastic. If anyone is looking to highlight your events or bring people together or do subject matter programming and things of that nature, please give him a shout out. He's got a long history in the business, and he's got a couple of interesting stories of Kevin Smith that he might share with you one day if you're really nice. So you know what's interesting? Do you see the folks that are here today, right? What really struck me are the folks that from the real estate business. And I don't know, it's been a long time since I had a real estate license, but if we do this correctly, perhaps we can get CE credits from the Monmouth County Board of Realtors, because we have enough people. We may almost have a quorum, right, of real estate folks. But what's interesting is the topic is so dynamic: interior design, real estate, the residential market. We'll also perhaps talk about the commercial market a little bit, but primarily residential. Is that we're here to learn and grow together, and you have folks from different real estate companies here as well to hear what's going on, right? Because it's so dynamic. So this is almost a part where I can kind of fade out, because these 2 fantastic ladies are going to dominate a great part of this conversation now with what's happening in real estate. How does it dovetail with interior design? How do you properly stage your home? What should you be thinking about if you're selling at the top of the market? Well, you're also buying, right? How do you do that kind of transition? So perhaps, Doreen, can we start with you? What's happening? What's happening out here?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to everybody who came out today. It's really great to see everybody. The market is very dynamic. There's so much going on, and my big thing that I'd like to point out is that you can't take today's market for granted. I think that there's a lot of sellers out there. We know that inventory is terribly low, and that's what's driving the market. But it's important to present your house in order to get the top dollar, and that's where Alma comes in with pointing out all the little things that we can do in our houses today to make it so much more attractive to the buyers coming in, because buyers are really smart today, and they want a house that's easy to move into, not one that is, looks like it's been, not maintained. And I think that there's a lot that we can do to just put our best foot forward and to present our houses. You have one shot, one chance to make a first impression, and the minute that buyer walks in, you want them to be able to see the depth of the rooms. You want them to see that it's been maintained. There's so much that people don't do to their homes because they're used to them. One of the things I say, especially on a listing appointment, is let's leave the kitchen table, let's walk across the street, turn around and look at your house. People don't realize that that little plant, that little shrub that they bought 20 years ago is now a tree that's blocking the windows on the second floor. So in order to show the house through a photographer, I need the trees, I need the bushes put away. When you have plants and landscaping, even if it was professionally done 20 years ago, it ages the house. The minute you take that down and you open it up, it just makes the house seem so much bigger and so much more attractive. Down to the mailbox. So many people neglect their mailbox, but it sets the tone for the rest of the house. It's like walking around with, dirty shoes or having a new car with beat up tires. It's that whole presentation that really, really makes a difference. And then once they get to the front door, how many people have the broken doorbell, or they have a neglected front door, because most people in New Jersey go through the garage, so we don't even see our front door. You have cobwebs all over the place, and you have bird's nest or beehives or something stuck in the corner. And a lot of people, it's like a big wow moment for them when they see that. So that would be the very first thing I say. Spring cleaning, start with your front porch. Power wash it and just spruce it up, make it really pretty.
And as far as the market itself, is it structurally different in terms of what inventory is available, what decision-making process? People have perhaps a fear of missing out at the top of the market, and they're trying to decide what to do and where to go. What are some of the key things people should be thinking about? Is, should I list my home now? Should I wait? What do we do when? That kind of thing.
Well, nobody has a crystal ball. I think a lot of people think that we do, and some people pretend that they do, but nobody knows what the future is going to hold. So what I always say is the time to list is when it's right for you. It's a process. It's not, you're not buying a shirt. You're uprooting your whole family. It's a big transition for a lot of different people, for a lot of different reasons, rather. And you need to be 100% committed to it. So yes, you will definitely get top dollar for your house right now because inventory is so low, but you have to know that if you're selling high, you're also buying high. So it's actually the perfect market for anybody who has a second home. I have a lot of people, going down to their houses in LBI or down the shore because they can sit there and kind of wait it out while they unload their house up here and then figure out what their next move is going to be. A lot of people are leaving the state, so they need to find out what state they now want to migrate down to, and not only what state it is, but where are they choosing in that state that they want to live in. So there's a lot that goes into it, but if you're looking to list your house now, absolutely. There's, I think, 14, 15 houses on the market in Holmdel today, all different price ranges from your $400,000 townhouses to your $4 million house. So it narrows down to your price range. There could be 2 houses that you're looking at, and you have 100 people looking at that house. So.
And if you have multiple offers, how does having a background in working with a professional realtor make that difference of having that experience when you have multiple offers, trying to understand
I think that is what makes our job the most key. I think anybody can sell your house today. You'll have your house sold in a minute. That's the easy part. The hard part is vetting the buyers' agents, making sure that you're committing to working with somebody who's committed to seeing you get to the closing table. Because if you don't get to the closing table, it's all for nothing. So a lot of buyers and a lot of buyers' agents are out there, and it's about the win, you know what I'm saying? It's not about the house. When I work with my clients on either side, I want to know that I am working with people who are financially, who are emotionally committed to the transaction. Because without that commitment, there's too many bumps in the road that you have to be willing to go through to see it to close. So I'm looking for that certainty of close. I think that that's really important.
And you mentioned when we were having a conversation about buyer's remorse. Can you talk a little bit about the seller? You have an offer, it's a fantastic offer, you take it, and then it blows up. Like, what are some of the key things to know about or to avoid to not have a situation where you're off the market for a couple of months?
Listen, we could have a whole TV show with that. So there's so many reasons why things can fall apart, but I think it takes a very well-experienced and a trained agent on both sides to be able to walk the clients through that. Because everything basically is fixable. There's very, very few reasons why something shouldn't get to the end. Every situation is unique. The stakeholders are always different in every transaction. We have different lawyers, we have different inspectors. You have somebody on both sides that's different. You know, I might be the constant, obviously, in all my transactions, but I'm always working with several other people. So it's all about the relationships that you have with your lenders, with your lawyers, with your inspectors, to kind of all work together as a team. Every time we go through a transaction, it's another game, it's another team that you're building. And just like we saw the synergy with St. Peter's, right, for the last couple of weeks, you need that synergy to see it to the end, to make it work, and to get, to just let people understand that we can work through this. Yes, there will be bumps, but they're manageable, and together as a team, we can see you to the end.
And don't some of those bumps start during the inspection process when a seller gets a laundry list of items that they start listing that they want corrected and fixed? And doesn't that go back a little bit to don't take this market for granted as far as the preparation and look and feel of your home? And how does that tie into interior design? Not just when somebody wants to sell a home, but how about when you're enjoying your own home? As opposed to a big spend when you're thinking about listing, how about a spend while you're enjoying it with your family while you're living in it, right? How does that dovetail with the selling process, Alma?
Well, absolutely, because I think basically Doreen and I were talking about, you know, painting your home and all those little extras, but I also think it's foundation for us. So when we start a project, even from its infancy, whether it's a complete new build or anything else, it's kind of getting the bones right. And what we're talking about is that cohesion. So even if you take up something as simple, which seems so benign as paint color, and treating each space in the home as the relationship to the next space. So we definitely look for cohesion. So when you're painting your house, yes, if you have a little dining room or a powder room that you want to be separate and unique to the rest of the house, that's fine. But you should not have each room a different color. You should make sure, again, getting the bones right. So that could be something as simple as scale of lighting, which I know Doreen and I had discussed. Go outside your house, stand across the street, look at that front door entrance. Make sure if you have this 2-story home, you don't have 8-inch lights on the front of your home. Make sure that your scale of your lighting is larger. Always, when in doubt, I say from an interior design perspective, always go bigger, because usually the space and the actual footprint of your home actually eats up the lighting. So if you have a center light fixture in your foyer or outside your house, usually go bigger. That's the rule of thumb for all of us. Keep your paint consistent, and then look at the details. So you're enjoying your own home, you're either building or you're renovating. Get the bones right. Make sure it's something, I know Doreen and I spoke about, those foundation pieces. Your flooring. A lot of homes that were built anywhere from the 50s to the 2000s use 2¼ inch plank hardwood floors. If you have the opportunity to go with larger scale engineered floors or larger scale hardwood floors, by all means, go for it, because it will elevate the space completely. I think it looks more expensive, and I think it appeals to the homeowner when they're living in the space, and also your next prospective buyer. You look like you invested in something, and I think it makes a difference.
Can you talk a little bit about how some of the traditional areas of a home that you would read about as lay persons, right? Not interior designers, not real estate professionals, is whether it's kitchen or whether it's the bathrooms. Is there some basic guidance that people should be thinking about? And for example, in a kitchen, which can go anywhere from $50,000 to $300,000, or depending on the home, what are the simple things that you can do for that?
Just do it. Whatever it is that you're saying you want to do, just do it. Enjoy it. Don't do it. So many people say, oh, I want to list my house, but I have to redo my powder room or redo my master bedroom or change out the rugs or whatever it is. It's like, Do it now. Don't do it to sell it. Do it now and enjoy it, and then whenever you decide to sell, sell. But don't wait. Nobody wants to spend money to sell their house. It just doesn't make sense to them. But the reality of it is it's the right thing to do. So when you're tired of looking at the burgundy wall or the shadow stripe, it's nothing. It's such small change to take, the couple of $1,000s, maybe $10,000 to paint a whole house. Just do it. You'll be amazed at how beautiful it looks. People tell me, oh my gosh, we don't want to move now. We love our house. It looks so pretty. Why didn't I do this sooner? And it's just so simple. But people get used to what they have, and they just don't see the obvious. And that's hard. And like Alma's saying too, even with lighting, the dust sometimes that's sitting on these chandeliers, you're just like, oh my gosh, So it's just, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to go to Capital Lighting or someplace special. You go to the first aisle down Lowe's or Home Depot, just pick up some new fresh light. It's such a game changer, and it's not a huge investment.
And when folks are looking at the topic of interior design is daunting for many folks. They think it's something, it's out of their reach, it's a different world, it's something that's very high end, and it often is too. But the phrase interior design, should it be so daunting to people? What are the basic core elements of it for everyday families to say, you know what, I want to look at this differently for myself, for my family? It may be ergonomics. It may not just be the painting and the lighting. How do you set that orchestra together so the music is in sync?
Sure, absolutely. And I think that there are certain rules, and I think what's great is there are so many outlets that the regular homeowner can go and look at to kind of get that information that's so imperative, which also connects to us. So I say use your resources. Go on things like Pinterest or Houzz or Instagram. Save those images. Usually you'll see this common thread throughout. Oh, yes, I guess I am a minimalist, or I am really traditional or transitional, or so forth. And I think kind of find out who you are. And then the more tricky issue with interior design is the background of it. So where you say, I know it, now I know my style, there are certain rules of thumb that as interior designers we all kind of follow. That's your traffic pattern, that's your scale of furniture, that's making sure, and obviously we have resources that we can use to make sure we can show it to you on a computer. But for a client, tape out that furniture floor plan on your floor before you purchase that sofa. If that sofa's too big, make sure you know it. Kind of tape it out. Get some cardboard paper, brown paper. Put your new floor plan down in your room. And that's a really great resource. You don't have to use a CAD plan. You don't have to go and hire an interior designer, although it's fine if you do. You don't have to do any of those things, but at least it helps you with buyer's remorse, because now you're not living with this super large sofa and these chairs that don't fit, and you don't have that 36 inches to walk around the furniture and that floor plan. So I really say that find who you are as a design style, and then go and make sure you do that extra legwork. Make sure your furniture and your floor plan will fit. And make sure you add those extra layers. And I think that's where the difference is between homeowners that aren't using an interior designer and those that do use an interior designer. We're looking for all the layers. And I would really encourage people, if you're not using an interior designer, to look at those layers of lighting. Make sure you don't have just recessed light in your house. Make sure that we find these beautiful homes that we walk into and there's beautiful furniture and there's no table lamps or floor lamps or anything else. Make sure you include all of those different layers of lighting. And I really think that that's imperative. That will warm up your space and truly make it feel like a home.
And part of that, I'm sorry, Doreen,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, Alma is 100% right with that, because it also then adds the dimension to the room. So you want to be able to see the height and the width of the room, and having the lighting.
The layers, yeah, the layers,
like Alma's saying, makes a big difference.
And
There's
it feels
a lot
finished.
happening in lighting these days, right?
There sure is. There's definitely a lot happening, and we really do see that this aspect tends to be excluded because I think people struggle with this, or they don't. Goes again back to scale. Your table lamp. Make sure your table lamps are 30 inches. Make sure they're not 18 inches, because they won't look correct and appropriate in the space. So I think all of those things, all of those different layers. Make your checklist. Make your boxes when you're doing this. Say, I need for this floor plan a sofa, 2 chairs, a cocktail table, 2 side tables. Make your plan. Then tape it out. Then say, okay, now my next next layer. I need my lighting, my rugs, my throw pillows, my accessories. Truly, as with anything in life, if you're organized and detailed, you really can create your dream space, for sure.
And I have a question. Doreen alluded to it a little earlier in regard to the some landscaping that may be 20 feet high and it's taking away from the second story window. And we're talking about interior design, but perhaps let's flip it. Exterior design, to what extent does that dovetail? Now you may say you may go right into landscape architecture and things like that nature, but how do you dovetail interior with the exterior as part of a design team for someone who's thinking of selling their home?
We actually do that a lot, and we're actually quite involved with exterior architecture and landscapes, again from those infancy stages. But again, for the regular homeowner, if you're looking from the outside, have your landscaping trimmed up. Anything that you can do, even if it's planting some beautiful flowers, even for the summer when your house is on the market, and front doors. That's your first initial feel into the space. If you're able to invest in beautiful new entry doors, exterior doors, by all means do it. If you're not, paint them. Make sure you paint them. See if you can case and do some sort of millwork outside of them. And this really goes for whether your structure and your facade is contemporary or whether it's traditional. Make sure that there's some recognition of that style and it continues into that space. Not that we haven't had beautiful traditional homes and we've done some beautiful contemporary things, but I do think that that's a little bit more tricky. And I do think that there has to really be this nice integration between architecture and style.
Right. And those are the things we can control. You mentioned inspections earlier. During inspections, there's some things that come up that we just don't know, and they're sort of out of our control until they're revealed. But if you can present your house with what you can control, that being the landscaping, power washing. How many times do we walk up to these big, beautiful houses, $1 million houses, and there's actually weeds growing out of the gutters, and you're sitting there saying, oh my Lord, please, have your gutters cleaned, just spruce it up. Power washing, it's not that expensive. People want top dollar, but they have to know that you have to invest in order to get that return. And sometimes the investing seems more overwhelming than it really, really is, but there's a huge cost and value there that you need to articulate to the sellers because they will see it on the return. Buyers today are, there's a lot of them, but they know what they want, and they really want turnkey move in. So Alma's with what Alma is saying about the furniture and everything, we know that the buyer's not buying the lamps and the furniture. And they might not be able to articulate why they love this house so much, but subconsciously they're reading with how well the rooms are displayed, and there's just this wonderful positive energy that's coming at them that makes them want the house even more. So Alma was talking about 36 inches of space between your furniture. We walk into houses sometimes and I'm walking around the table, I'm walking around a couch. I've walked into family rooms where they have this huge sofa blocking one of the entranceways. So you're not going to have that nice, easy flow when the buyers are coming through. And when we're walking around our house, it might just be us, but when we're showing a house, it's us, the husband, the wife, maybe the mother, the father, the kids, there's a whole bunch of people trailing through, and you don't want to be tripping over your furniture. So it's really important to properly lay out your room so that the flow is just there and it's easy and it just makes sense and it feels good.
And thank you for that. And you have clients all across the country, and you work regionally as well. Yeah. Have you seen some local regional differences in terms of style, whether it's coastal, whether it's East Coast, West Coast? Any design trends that folks may be interested in hearing about?
Yeah, actually, we're kind of anti-trend. So for us, and a lot of homeowners will come to us and say, we really love this, and we say, embrace who you are and your design style, but maybe just take an aspect of a trend, because much like when you look through any time period or the mid-2000s or when things were super ornate and we're kind of editing and cleaning up our approach, make sure if you don't do that all over your whole house, because then in 10 years, if you do decide to sell, it's obviously a little bit more of a struggle. And for us, we don't find as much geographically different styles. Obviously, if we're doing a house by the water in Florida, then it shouldn't look like a mountain house in Colorado. But But I do think that people's style doesn't necessarily determine geographics as well, because we do do a lot of houses by the beach. But I think clients that are living there for the summers or clients that are living there for 4 seasons probably embrace a different look and want something that feels, if you're there for 4 seasons, you want something that you feel equally as comfortable in the winter as you do in the summer. And we really try to kind of embrace our client's style.
So instead of a particular trend, and I actually like the idea about being counter trend, because when I'm hearing a lot about gray, and I'm thinking, that's a trend? You know, really? Right? You need more gray. Go ahead.
But there's pieces that Alma and her team can lead you to. You know, you could change out the pillows on your couch. A simple, throw can make a difference. So you can embrace the trend, but you do it in
small doses.
Small doses, maybe disposable pieces in a
Exactly.
sense. Not something that's a little bit more permanent or harder to change.
Absolutely, and even I think we can all see, especially people that love design. I think you can. I think there's always trends, and even when we see trends, and sometimes we love it. I think right now, whether you live by the beach or you don't, we see a lot of woven coastal elements, even in houses all over. But we usually do say incorporate it. It looks wonderful, but maybe do a lamp or a light fixture or a chair. Not everything. It's if farmhouse is something that you absolutely like, absolutely do farmhouse, but in small doses. Not everything has to be that entire thing, because I think it will date you, and dating a home is probably the most difficult aspect for reselling your home as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have a question for both of you, and it's appropriate because we're in a tech center, right? Bellworks, all about tech and history. I want to talk about tech for a little bit, because part of folks that are transacting business today, the tech generation, folks that are involved in wanting to have a reduction in friction points in transactions. There are many other people that are part of a team, the lawyers, the mortgage brokers, and the different folks that are part of that team. Are you seeing different trends, whether it's in your work, Realtor.com, and the different ways to reduce to smooth the transaction process for sellers and buyers of real estate? Can we talk about technology a little bit? Now you could apply for mortgages online. You could do so many different things online. You may be able to, you can have fashion, just like visualize, put a dress on your hat, glasses, all these different kinds of things, and make augmented reality. Is that fitting in? Artificial intelligence, is that tying into your world these days, and how so?
So I know for us, we use technology all the time, because most people in our clients and really most people in general really need that visual. So again, you may be, as a homeowner, taping out your floor and seeing where your furniture fits. That's going to be on a floor plan for us. You're going to get your CAD drawing. You're going to get your rendering. If you're completely talented and you do hand renderings, that's wonderful. Otherwise, you're going to get a Photoshop rendering. So you will get a visualization of everything. So technology for us is actually imperative for our field, because we utilize it every day, all day. One of the other designers is sitting here, and she probably hates using it all the time, but it is imperative. We actually could not function without it.
And we have folks here that are professional photographers. How does photography and visually putting forth the product, the home, how does that tie into your work? And I see even use of drones and...
Absolutely. I think that that's absolutely key. I think that you need to be realistic with your photography. You can't overdo it. I think that you need true representation. I think that technology is phenomenal, and I love that we're able to do everything, DocuSign and all that other stuff. It really saves so much time. But I think that we're a people business, and I think that it's really important. Chemistry is huge, and you need to understand your clients. They need to understand you. You need to, when we show a house, we're usually just showing the house. And even when we're doing the drone shot, you're getting a broad overview, whether you're looking it up on Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever it is. There's nothing like actually being sort of boots on the ground, walking through the house, driving through the neighborhood. I tell everybody, before we go see a house, do a drive-by. Make sure you like the block. People, they love Holmdel, they love Rumsden, they love whatever town, Seagirt, that they might be buying into, but there's a culture that's very specific to each town. And there's sides of town, the north side, the south side, that you may or may not want. I mean, Holmdel is pretty interesting in itself because we border so many other towns that they need to be here to see, do they want to be on the Lincroft side? Do they want to be on the Middletown side? Do they want to be on the Hazlitt side of Holmdel? All that makes a difference in their everyday living. So yes, technology is great, and pictures and drones and being able to look at a house, whether it's through a 3D or through a 2D floor plan, is wonderful technology that we can incorporate into the listings, but you still need to be there with your agent, walking through and understanding exactly what it is that you're buying. But where I thought you were going to go with that is back in the day, we used to have those big intercom systems in the house. And the landline on the...
Newtone, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the minute you walk into that, the house is just so dated, even with the landline on the kitchen wall. So I always joke with that, and I say, listen, you're getting the house painted anyway, right? When you're painting it, have them take this out, disconnect it, cover it up, patch it all up, and it's such a game changer because we know the age of the house intellectually, but when we're looking at it and all that visual is gone, it just looks so much younger and so much better.
I just flashed back to the pool table in the basement and the little speaker to the left with my mom's famous Irish brogue demanding that we arrive upstairs for dinner.
Time for dinner, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The,
now they text each other on the phone, but getting rid of the old technology and bringing in the new technology in a house, really it's a game changer with how the house presents.
What do folks not understand about interior design? And every homeowner is not necessarily using an interior designer. They may think they have their own flair and their own style, and that's great, right? But are there certain aspects that they just don't understand about that industry, interior design itself?
Yes, and I think it goes back to, and I think this is where we both connect, and I think it goes back to that cohesion. And I think that's why I say make your lists, plan it out, plan how one space connects to another space. And I think this is what kind of is the dividing line, because I think this is where homeowners tend to get ruffled, because you know what you want for this space, and now it doesn't connect to your kitchen, or it doesn't connect to your dining room, or it doesn't connect to your front entry. So I really think that aspect, you really have to address a project holistically. So even if you know that maybe a certain section might be phase 2 because budget doesn't allow, make sure that you know that phase 2, what you can do now during your phase 1 to make sure that things don't feel so disconnected. So for us as designers, we always approach it holistically. Even if we have a project that a client will say, well, we were just commissioned to do something. I'm doing this now, but I'm going to add on at a different stage. Well, if you're going to do that, we're going to make sure that you're not spending your money unwisely. And what we invest in now will transition to that addition, or transition to when you can do this for the second phase. So for us, treat your project holistically and know how it's going to connect to the space, and make sure you get your scale right and your floor plan right, and don't forget the layers. Don't forget the devil is in the details. Don't forget that those lamps, that lighting, your cocktail table books on your cocktail table. All of those dimensions really add so much to a space.
Alma's 100% right. She's so spot on, because what happens too is people will invest so much money in one room and it looks fantastic, but the rest of the house now just looks 20 years older because it just doesn't work. So, and I understand everybody has a budget, but you need to kind of stay true to yourself, stay true to the house. If your house is, all your furniture is brown, it's going to be very, very hard to suddenly paint your walls a cold gray. It's going to make the furniture look even older and the walls look even more stark. So you have to find a color. You can update with color and paint without changing the floors and the walls, the floors and the furniture. There's a way to tie it all together, and maybe that's when you need to bring somebody like Alma and her team in to help you figure that out, because it's not natural to everybody, and there's nothing wrong with needing help. We all know what our strengths and weaknesses are, and there's nobody that knows interior design better than Alma. So she's the perfect person to call and have her help you with whatever you might need to enjoy your house, and then have it ready for when you're going to sell it. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to be selling our houses at some point. Might not be tomorrow, it might be 10 years down the road, but at some point we will be selling our house. So
Or somebody will be selling it for you.
It's just, you just want to stay classic, you want to stay true to yourself, and you want to enjoy it while you have it.
Well, I think enjoying it while you have it is extremely important, because I think folks spend all the money to sell the house. We talked a little bit, and then you provided that value to your buyer. Why didn't you enjoy that for a few years, right?
And that's if they like it.
Absolutely.
They might represent that they like it, and then 2 days later you see a dumpster in the house and your kitchen's going out there. Or the chandeliers they thought that you keep in the house are going in the dumpster too. So you have to enjoy what you have, because you don't know what your future buyer, what their taste is.
And it ties to making smart decisions, right? And working with folks that are familiar with the industry, familiar with the business. We're going to open it up for questions in a moment. But to frame it a little bit, and you know, it's fantastic having folks that are in the business here as well, right? Because they're hearing some of the same things that they're experiencing and thinking. They may have a few points to add to it. But some folks say they're going to sell the house. It's top of the market. Everything's great. I'm going to sell it in a day. That's what everyone says. I'm going to sell it very quickly. And they think they could do it on their own. And then they find themselves very deep in the weeds of transactional problems, issues with whether the professionals, maybe there are problems with lawyers, maybe it's title, maybe it's the mortgages, whatever the case may be. Can you share for folks the value in working with professional realtors that know what they're doing and have experience, and the value there? Because some folks may say, well, I don't want to pay a commission, or I think that I can do it somehow differently. Can you share the value so they understand exactly why
because
it's important?
Quite frankly, that's my job. So I'm there. You're paying me to take care of all that for you. You can do it on your own, but now you're taking on my job along with your job. So now you have two jobs, so to speak. So you're fielding calls while you're at work. You're letting complete strangers who haven't been vetted, maybe not have been pre-approved, into your house. You're setting yourself up for failure because it's too overwhelming. It takes years and years and hundreds of transactions to be able to anticipate certain problems. And like I said earlier, every transaction is very unique, and it's constantly a learning experience, because there's always different things that come up, and you can't, when you're emotionally attached to it, it makes it very, very difficult. Listen, quite frankly, there's a reason why surgeons don't perform surgery on their family members. You're too emotionally attached to it, and you're not making wise decisions. You're making emotional decisions, not business decisions. And selling your house, yes, it's emotional, but it's a business. And you know, people might try to sell their own house and not realize the way that it presents because they like the colors in the bedroom, or they might like whatever it might be. They're just emotionally attached to it. So you're not getting that that fresh perspective of somebody else coming in. And every time a buyer walks into your house, they're seeing it. They're actually even smelling it, which kind of sounds a little weird, but every house has its own smell. And you need a fresh pair of eyes to be able to point that out to you. And that still is the easy part. The hard part is the transaction. The hard part is, you know, getting through every period that you have to go through, and it's hard. Yeah. There's a lot of negotiation that takes place, and you need the experience. Again, just like St. Peter's, they needed the experience of the free throws to know how to get it in there and to win it when you're up against a very, very difficult situation, a lot of pressure.
And similar also with interior design, right? When you're looking at things differently, you're a little too close to it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny because we have a funny story because the doctor is their own worst patient. And so thank goodness we have a nice big team that we will always toss ideas off of each other. And it goes back to Doreen's statement. I think Doreen and I are friends. We've also worked together from in design, and we've also worked together in real estate. And just as someone that's actually called up Doreen and has said, Doreen, what do you think of this? Doreen can give me perspective that I am not trained or schooled in or educated in, where she'll say, well, listen, this house over here is going for this. Just because you're emotionally attached to the front door and the white picket fence doesn't mean this is necessarily the best investment for your family. And for the same sense, listen, I like, you know, modern minimalist. well, maybe I can help you develop that in the best sense. So I do think that there is ways to do things on your own, but there is a time to actually call in the experts, because I do think that they have a lot to offer, even if it's, you know, for us on a smaller scale or another designer on a smaller scale. I do think that there's something that's offered. And just like for Doreen, I think calling her in where she'll say, okay, you love this, but you know what, you need a whole new foundation. This is not the house to invest in. So, and it's something that I would not necessarily see, or the history of the house.
Because you see what you want to see.
Exactly.
And you need somebody with the experience and the broader perspective to show you the big picture.
Not emotional.
Right, not emotional. Which again goes back to being, as an agent, knowing not only that house, but that neighborhood, the traffic patterns around that neighborhood, where you'll be doing your daily living, your shopping, you know, how the kids are getting to school. So it's this whole big buy-in that people are buying into. It's not just that one house.
Yeah. I agree, and even what is in the development plans for this particular neighborhood? Will it work for your family or against your family? So I think that also factors in. And for us, we can see the trends and not so great trends and things like that. So I think for our perspective, we each bring something different to the table for sure.
Well, thank you for that. It's a fantastic education. I'm thinking 5 CE credits for real estate licensing. I think minimally for recertification. With that, I would like to open it up for questions, and maybe if we can start with the education team over there. So we have a couple students, and I know that they probably have a few questions for you. And for the folks that are in the business too, feel free to share a thought or two as we do a couple questions, and then we're going to wrap up with what the next big thing is. So that's a little head start on the question I'm going to ask you. What's the next big thing? And so, yes.
So I'm definitely interested in business, and one of the areas that I might be interested in is real estate. So I was just wondering if either of you guys had any advice, either on the real estate end or maybe interior design, about what I would do to get into a career like this.
So I'm sure Doreen could probably answer that better, but I think the best way to kind of advance any knowledge is read and speak to experts and mentors. So even if it's not necessarily an internship, even if someone can connect you, a family friend or an educator or something that can connect you with someone, and you say, can I shadow you? I think that's really, so it may not be, paid internships are harder to come by, and especially the younger you are, they tend to be a little bit more challenging. But even if you're not getting that resume building thing, you're building yourself, and I think that that's probably imperative.
It's all about passion. It's about being able to wake up every day and do what you think you want to do, whether you had a good day or a bad day yesterday. And the only way to do that is to truly love what you're doing. I think that education is key. I mean, Terrence is talking about CE credits, but education is really, really key. And yes, being involved in situations is definitely a learning experience, but read the books, go to webinars, listen to podcasts. When I got my license in 2012, 3 years later, I was studying to get my broker's license. Not that I necessarily wanted to open up my own business, but I just knew that there was a whole nother wealth of information, a whole nother layer of education that I could have gotten to help me through all the challenging moments. Because people think real estate and even interior design is just so much fun and it's all, sunshine and roses, and it's not. I mean, there's some really, really very difficult days. There's trying days. There's clients that you're working with that just don't understand certain situations, or they're in a bad situation and you're trying very hard to get them through that. I would recommend maybe getting a therapist license.
Absolutely.
If you take a class at Brookdale or Monmouth for a little counseling, that'll go a long way too, because we've seen it all on both ends. As you're helping people through really difficult emotional situations. Financially, they could be going through a divorce, they could be having another child they weren't expected to have, and they need a bigger house. I mean, there's just so many different things that are going on. There's a lot of multi-generation living going on today. So just getting out there and trying to learn and experience as much as you can is probably the best piece of advice I can give.
And I think much to what Doreen said, I think also those people skills. I think that that's imperative because, jokingly, therapist, but you are often, when you work in a service industry, you are a pseudotherapist. So I think also developing your people skills is actually really, really imperative, because it is a face-to-face industry. There is all the technology behind it, but you are following up with your clients. You are making sure everything's okay. And even if they're struggling with something personally, you can take that into effect and say, okay, I'll handle this aspect. We'll take care of this for you. You don't even have to worry about this.
And Doreen, I'd like to piggyback on that question for a second. Obviously, you're a very successful real estate agent, well-respected. I live in Holmdel. Tell me, tell us what your journey was like getting to this point.
You're going to age me. So I really never had, my goal was not to become a real estate agent. My background is in retail. I went to school in Manhattan, and I was working in the garment center. At the end of my career there, I was a buyer for Bloomingdale's. And I loved everything that I was doing. It was just the best job in the world. I traveled everywhere. It was phenomenal. I loved it. But then I got married, and I became pregnant, and there was just no way I can do that international and national travel. Even just taking the train in back in the day was exhausting. My hours were exhausting. So I actually stopped working. I stayed home. I became a very happy stay-at-home mom. I raised my 3 girls. And while they were in school, because I just can't sit still, I became very involved in the school. We worked for so many years. I'm still on the Holmdel Foundation for Educational Excellence. I think I was never on the Board of Ed, but I pretty much held a lot of every position possible at the 4 different schools at different periods. With the foundation for so long. I was a CCD teacher at St. Catherine's for 7 or 8 years. I was just very involved in a lot of things that were going on. I get very involved in Hackensack Meridian. I'm still a trustee, a member on the Women's Heart Fund. So there's a lot that I get involved in, and that sort of set the tone for people's trust in me. I think that I proved myself to be a good leader, a good negotiator. I was able to manage a lot of different situations throughout the school, fundraising. So financially, there was just so many different areas of business that I touched on without realizing the reputation that I was building, right? So then when I decided to maybe make some money instead of all the volunteering, I think I woke up one day and I realized I had like 9 meetings between everything that I was volunteering for, and I was like, 9 meetings out of 20 days a week is just a lot. So that's when I went to school and I got my license, and I immediately started working with the company that Adrian's with right now, and I really loved it. And then I knew that this was where I was meant to be and what I wanted to do, and then I just switched companies in order to really, grow my business and just align myself with with Gloria Nielsen at the time, which was the company that I moved over to, and it was phenomenal. And then, oh gosh, about 3 weeks before COVID hit, I think it was February 4th, Berkshire Hathaway bought Gloria Nielsen, which was a very dynamic company for about 40 years that Gloria had built, and we had a phenomenal reputation, and everybody was like, oh, Berkshire Hathaway, we didn't know anything about it. But coming from corporate, I embraced Berkshire Hathaway, and watching the leadership that they took us to get through COVID when the whole world just sunk down to the very bottom was phenomenal. So I am so comfortable and so proud to be aligned with this company now. It's Warren Buffett. It's just internationally, it's just the best company in the world, and so very well respected. And I feel privileged to have their name aligned with mine, because I think we both represent the same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm also very interested in the technological aspect of it. So how are virtual reality and augmented reality coming into the real estate platform?
Well, that's the complete opposite of me. I am not, IT savvy, but I think that it's very important. But I think that for the same reason why Zillow, stopped with what they were doing with trying to buy and sell houses, I think that as great as technology is, you still need to be able to walk through a house. Maybe use the technology to pick out the house that you want to see or the area that you want to be in, but you still need to physically be there, open up the doors, walk through the floor plan, look at the height of the ceilings, and just kind of envision yourself living there. I don't think that that's something that a computer will ever be able to give you 100% of. Same reason why, like telemedicine is wonderful, but it gets to the point where you actually need to sit down in front of your doctor and he needs to touch and feel and really explore you. So I think it's great, and it's definitely the future of our business, and I think it gives us the ability to really expand our reach when we're trying to sell a house, to find that buyer, or to have that buyer find that home. So it definitely has a place in the future, but it's never going to replace being human, being physically in that home, that town, that area.
Are you finding that perhaps with some of the corporate relocations, if a family's in California, they're being transferred over, the use of HoloLens and different technology, the headsets to have a 360 view, is that kind of technology starting to get implemented at all?
It is, and funny you should say that, because I actually, in the middle, we should be closing soon, on a house with a buyer who actually bought it from California. She was never in the house. She's just been FaceTimed entirely through the whole house, but it's a little risky. So she's had her brother there, she's had her sister there, she had her mother there, she had her own stakeholders there, because she can't take my opinion of this in the kitchen or the bathroom or whatever it is. Like you need people, not that she doesn't trust us, but you need more of a buy-in and different eyes in there. So it's interesting that people are doing it, but it's very, very rare. And I would never, ever embrace someone buying a house sight unseen. That's a disaster just waiting to happen.
Fair enough. Thank you. Jeannie?
Hi, Doreen.
Hi.
I know earlier on you mentioned you don't have that crystal ball for the future.
No.
You mentioned
Broke.
there's enormous buyer demand. There's low inventory. We've seen mortgage rates increase over the last few months. If you were to make a prediction about pricing in the real estate market, what would that be 6 months, a year out? Do we continue to see these increased demands and people paying significant sums of money, or do those rates soften?
I think that it'll soften a little bit. I think that inventory is so low right now. Monmouth County inventory is down 40%. Holmdel inventory is down like 30%. Just to give you an idea, in 2019, April of 2019, 70 new homes came on the market in April. We're never going to have 70 new homes next month. We're lucky if we have 17. So because of that, because of the low demand, because of the low inventory, there'll always be that demand. Right now, there's just so many more buyers than there are houses available. The migration from the city has definitely slowed down a little bit with hybrid back to work. People don't have that same urgency to get down into the suburbs like they did. Interest rates definitely become a game changer. So now maybe instead of having 100 people walking through your house this weekend, you'll have 75. Maybe instead of 25 offers, you'll have 15. You're still going to have a lot of interest in your house. It'll just come down a little bit. Inflation is definitely on people's minds. If they're driving down from Westchester to buy a house in Holmdel right now, they're watching as they fill up that gas tank. And they might not want to be driving into the city. They might say, you know what, it's a lot cheaper for me to take the boat from Hoboken or Jersey City or anywhere up in that Gold Coast over into Manhattan. So all those things will definitely be game changers, but not enough to slow the market down. I think maybe just enough to slow the market down so that we can breathe a little bit. Because it's very overwhelming to have 100 people walk through your house in one weekend. It's very overwhelming to sit down and try to explain through 25 offers to a seller. So if that culls itself down a little bit and you can pick out the best of the best, the seller is still in a win-win situation.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Jeannie? Hi.
Thank you so much. This is actually a question for Alma. What is your go-to white paint color?
So that's a great question. So we actually, I would say, we've been using a lot of Chantilly lace because it feels clean, and it's a Benjamin Moore color. It feels clean. Benjamin Moore has great coverage. So it's much more cost effective than maybe a Farrow and ball paint or something like that. There's no muddiness. There's no undertones. I know there's two other interior designers in the audience. So yeah, Chantilly lace, Benjamin Moore. It's pretty much foolproof. I would definitely suggest it.
Okay, thank you. And I just also want to point out, Doreen, of course, as mentioned before, is a very well-respected agent in the industry, broker agent. And one of your questions being, is hiring the right person, does that really have bearing? I'll say from the industry perspective, it definitely does. If we have multiple offers, which happens on pretty much every listing, if we have multiple offers and there's an offer in from a no-name agent and it's identical to another offer and has Doreen's name, speaking about Doreen to my client and vice versa, I'm sure, has a lot of bearing. So hiring the right person, at least from the industry perspective, is very important.
A greater likelihood of closing, right?
Yeah, no, Nicole, you're 100% right, because the sellers are looking at those contracts as they come through. And when they're not filled out properly and when the information isn't there, when I put all the information out there, I mean, agents are very lazy. There's so many of us out there that you have to be really, really careful to pick the right agent, because the cream always rises to the top, right? And that first impression is huge for a seller. And our job is very, very hard. And listen, I'll hold anybody's hand, but it gets to the point where if I don't have to, I won't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much easier to work with somebody that you know and you trust, because it makes all the difference.
Thank you. I want to briefly, Jeannie, if you don't mind, I want to talk to Brian Foster for a moment here. Brian, can you give us a quick update on mortgage rates? There's no better time than right at the moment. Here's a fellow right in the business. And then one of the reason questions, but I just wanted to, before I forget, how are we doing on mortgages and how does that tie to this market?
So historically, we're still in excellent shape. People have to understand the last 2 years with the whole COVID, rates were artificially set to extreme low levels. We've never seen them before. Will we see them again? The speculation is yes, but who knows when. So while they have risen kind of significantly, when you look just at the disparity from, say, mid-twos to right now we're high fours, that's a pretty drastic rise in just the last less than 6 months. But historically, we're in great shape. Everything kind of Doreen and Alma have been speaking about as far as the limited inventory and the amount of buyers out there, the overwhelming demand will, in my opinion, keep prices rising, hopefully not as significantly as they have been. We'll see. Hopefully they get a handle on this inflation and try to keep rates at least somewhat stable, because they've been anything but stable on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks, Brian. And go ahead, Doreen.
Right, because what Brian just said is 100% right on, because you have to look historically. You can't look at the small, blip right now where rates are going up. I know it becomes a game changer for what they can afford on a monthly basis, but they have to understand, and this is where you need to sit and educate them with yourself or with your lender, your partner, because they need to see where the possibility of it going could be. I mean, I remember when my parents had, their interest rate was like 13, 14%. I mean, that's inconceivable to most people today. But so to go from 2 to 4, it's a difference, but 4 to 6, 6 to 8, I don't know where they're going to wind up going. So.
And Brian, briefly on the low doc, no doc of years past versus how easy is it or complicated is it to get approved, no matter what the rate? What are there particular challenges for buyers today in getting the money that they need?
So that's a great question, because the loans that were being written in the mid-2000s, which kind of led ultimately to the crash, were a lot of the no-doc loans you mentioned. Just about everything that's been written in the past 10 years, loan-wise, have been full documentation, excellent credit, down payment, which means they have skin in the game. They don't want to lose the house. So those loans are very unlikely to fail. There are some debt service loans in different areas that we're seeing a bunch of, but again, you're talking about a much higher down payment and still excellent credit. So in my opinion, the book of business as far as loans, we're not going to see that contribute to the crash, if there is one, but we're not going to see it contribute to the crash the way it did back in 07, 08, when all these people who didn't verify their income, their employment, their assets, walked away and said, well, I didn't put any money into this, I'm just going to walk away. in my opinion, that's not going to
So
happen.
they should, for the residential single family, like a primary residence, should they be looking at 10% down, 20, 25, FICO scores 740? What kind of work can they do to get ready to buy that home?
So, number one, in my opinion, the first step is definitely getting pre-approved, because Doreen doesn't want to drive somebody around all over the place looking at homes and spending your time with somebody who just realized they have a 680 credit score, and it's going to impact their rate greatly, which is what conventional does now. A lot of sellers still don't like to see FHA loans for different reasons. So to me, getting that first step, reviewing your credit, making sure you have it optimized to the score as possible, and making sure that there's nothing else missing that somebody hasn't unchecked. Whereas a lot of people are always like, no, I want to wait. My opinion, and every realtor I deal with, is you shouldn't be taking anybody out until you know for sure that you have a reliable person that reviewed everything.
Absolutely. And I also don't want to spend my time showing them an $800,000 house when they can only afford a $600,000 house, or the reverse either. Sometimes they don't know what their buying power is, so they think they need to be in that $800,000 range when they could really go a little bit higher. So that becomes a game changer too, and you're not spinning your wheels. You're not wasting anybody's time. I think that being pre-approved, of course, is huge, and also letting them understand that when they find that house, they can't suddenly go on a buying spree. They can work with Alma and figure out what they're doing and how they're going to decorate it, but they can't start.
I disagree.
They have to put it just somehow or another, figure out how to make it work so it doesn't change their ability to pay at the end, because there are still so many conditions that have to be met. And sometimes people don't realize that, and they make that mistake.
We actually say this all the time in our firm, that and when our clients are buying a $5 million house and now they've kind of don't have any budget for furniture, make sure you kind of counter that into your overall budget, so that way your house can become a home back to, rather than an empty cavernous space where you have 6,000 square foot of empty unfurnished rooms. So we always say that as well. If you're buying this particular house, make sure you allot X for furnishings and design, whether you're doing it yourself or with someone else, so that way it can feel like a home, because no one wants to live in an empty house with one sofa and no rugs.
More than 36 inches of space.
Thanks. Next question. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm actually going through a project at my home now. I'm having my bathroom remodeled, and before I'm starting to feel like I have a home instead of a house, and I'm just like wondering about turning my house into a home even further. And if you can elaborate on that, Elma.
Sure.
It's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. So again, it goes back to whatever your overall budget is. So, and everyone has a budget. So, and it doesn't really matter what it is, but make sure when you are allotting for certain things that you have left over for the details. So let's say your budget for your living room furniture is X. Make sure you start subtracting and make those little spreadsheets, and make sure that okay, I only want to spend this on a sofa because then I need to do those layers. So make sure your home has the rug and the lamps and all of those things. So that just count backwards.
I have a question. What about kitchen cabinets? Painting them, or not? Like, what's your opinion on that?
So, and we've actually done both. So, and back to what you had said, Terrence, that it does run the gamut, where it can be, $50,000 for kitchen cabinets to $200,000 for kitchen cabinets. So I think for us, one, knowing your budget and whatever it is, painting kitchen cabinets is not inexpensive when it's done correctly. It's still probably going to be a $10,000 to $16,000 investment, depending on the size of your kitchen. And I do think, though, if you have really quality kitchen cabinets, then it's something that you should explore. Because once you sand prime, then paint in your appropriate finish of paint and your appropriate paint, it can be game changing. You can do new hardware, you can do all of these things. Only if you have good kitchen cabinets, though. And then I say, you walk into homes and they have these beautiful rut kitchens. They're really expensive. Someone invested a lot of money. Painting it a new color is a game changer. And then we see other people that say, you know what, these are not, the doors are falling off. Don't invest. It's not spending your money wisely. And there are new outlets where you can buy affordable kitchen cabinets. And I say do your research on it. Go out and look for kitchen cabinets that are places that are, mass produced. So if you have to go to an IKEA and have to work with someone at that, and that's what your budget is, I think that's great. You'll still have a brand new kitchen and probably getting better storage than you have now. You'll have soft close cabinets. Again, so painting is great. Only if you have the quality behind it. If you don't do it. And usually with painting kitchen cabinets, you have 2 to 3 weeks for them to cure, which means you're not using them for 2 to 3 weeks. So keep that in the back of your mind as well.
And sometimes a kitchen update can just, Alma, how do you feel about changing the countertops or simply the hardware? Sometimes the hardware and lighting can be a total game changer, and appliances. Not everybody needs a Sub-Zero and the Wolf, but you can upgrade your appliances.
Absolutely, 100%. I think upgrading your appliances, and there's different things for different budgets that everybody can use. Changing your hardware is a big game changer. And I would say as close to you can get from the less busy your things are, the better it is. So that goes for your tile, your backsplash, and your cabinets. Keep it simple rule is really important. So I would say if you can have a countertop situation with less busyness, unless it's really some beautiful Italian marble. But other than that, I think try to keep your kitchen a little bit more simple because it gives you that longevity.
I'm also hearing that you need to be able to define painting. So if someone says they're just going to paint something, well, let's define what you mean by painting. And sometimes you can end up with a result that is altogether different than what you were seeking to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Wow, such great information.
And do it yourself. Yes. Hold on, Taryn. She just reminded me of something too. A lot of people think painting is easy and they could do it themselves. What gives you more anxiety when you're looking at the ceiling and wall lines and it's just a mess because they didn't have it done professionally? Do it yourself is great, but hiring the right people and having it done professionally
with most things
makes such a difference.
Yeah.
And it's not as expensive as some people think. I think that you, like Alma said, do your homework, price things out, and do it once and do it right. What's that saying? Measure
twice, cut once.
Or instead of do it yourself, don't do it to yourself.
Yes.
Hire professionals. So, folks, want to thank everyone for being here today. And before we wrap up, just wanted to first of all, to thank Doreen DeMarco and Alma Russo and working with professionals. Yes, round of applause.
Thank you.
Before I go, I just want to see what's the next big thing and how do folks reach you, Doreen, and same with you, Alma. What's the next big thing and how do folks reach out to you? Because we're also streaming live on Facebook, and there'll be several thousand folks that are going to be watching this video at some point, and they may want to talk to you directly.
I would love to talk to anybody who'd like to sit down and talk with me about any aspect of real estate buying or selling. Or thinking about it, how to prep for the future. So you can call me anytime at 732-241-5015.
Thank you. And your website?
Is DorianDeMarco.com. Very easy.
Okay. Thank you, Alma.
And our website is arinteriors.llc.com, and we are located in Seagirt. We do travel everywhere across the country and within the state. And our phone number is 732-740-5885.
Well, thank you. And I'm Terrence Wall on behalf of the Holmdel Chamber of Commerce with a shout out to Ralph Zucker and his team at Somerset Development. And a huge thank you. Thank you, every one of you, and the students for being here. It's so special that you come because you're the next generation, and we look forward for all the good things that you're going to do. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Stop by Facebook at Holmdel Chamber, follow us, and feel free to share any of the information that you received today. Have a great day, and thank you again. Thank you, Alma. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you, Ming.